What's up, everybody? This is Adam Rank of the NFL Network. You might know me from such shows as Good Morning Football Weekend, NFL Fantasy Live, NFL Total Access, but the only show that matters is the I Only Touch Greatness podcast, and you're listening to it right now.
Looking for the most beers on tap, great steaks, great staff? Head over to the John B. Pub.
We got the best beers, steaks, chicken wings, nachos in town. Come see us at the John B. Pub.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Come sign up for our football pool. Say Hayes sent you.
The #1 sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Ryan Hayes and Big Mike are taking over the podcast scene in Vancouver. Get down or lay down. Lay down.
It's being recorded. I can't have it recorded.
No.
I can't have this meeting recorded. That goes against my rules.
Oh, what?
I'm kidding, of course.
Okay.
Hold on. Why can't I hear? There it is.
There it is.
What a mess I've been. Jeez Louise, you would think. Like, I know I got this email somewhere. I don't know. Every time.
Oh, that's why. Did you see me just email you?
Yeah, that's it. I wouldn't have found it without that.
Perfect.
Well, maybe 30 minutes from now. But
yeah. Hey, so I'm Ryan, by the way. It's nice to meet you. And
Good to meet you, Ryan.
This is Big Mike, my co-host.
Big Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much for taking the time for us.
He's a Bengals fan.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's I know. I don't know how I can't fix that.
No.
Isn't that one up on the Bears though?
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
By the way, I'll save it for the show. I'm not going to waste it here.
That's exactly it. We're about to get started right now anyways. So, Mike, you want to shoot the first question? I'll get the screen on.
Yeah, sure. Born in Cali. Tell us a little bit about childhood and what kind of sports did you play growing up?
First of all, I'm here to insult the Cincinnati Bengals because apparently, by the way, I should have this up higher. But anyways, the Bengals have low-key had great quarterbacks over the last, 40 years, going back to Ken Anderson, Boomer, Carson Palmer, Dalton, whatever. If Dalton was your worst guy, I don't know. I would have thought you would have had at least like a playoff win or something mixed in. But anyways, the question, California.
Hey, wait, one thing before you start there. We just had Ken Anderson on the show 2 days ago.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Kenny Anderson?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Does he still have a stash? What's a?
No, he's got it off.
No stash.
I would have hung up on him. I'd have been, this call's over. That's amazing. Kenny Anderson. They did have some good. I mean, they did make it to the Super Bowl, so I can't knock them. And
a couple times.
They ran into. I used to know Chris Collinsworth. I used to ghostwrite his column, and one time we were doing a thing about who would you invite over for our Thanksgiving meal, and one of the people he selected was Joe Montana. And I'm like, why? He's like, that way I would lose my lunch and I wouldn't overeat. I'm like, oh, do you hate Joe Montana that much? He's like, dude, that guy cost me 2 Super Bowls. Like, of course I do. I'm like, but you would have lost to anybody that you would have went up against. Like the Cowboys would have beat you in 81. And I don't know who they would have played in that other. They should have won that other Super Bowl anyways. But then what was it? There was a running back who did drugs. Then Crumry broke his leg. I don't know.
Yep.
Is that what you asked, by the way? I don't even think that's close to what you asked. I think that's the exact opposite. Yeah. Not even the question.
Question was, what was childhood like growing up the Huntington Beach bad boy?
Listen, first of all, I don't want to be associated with Huntington Beach. I don't know if you're ever on Twitter, ever, or just read the news. No, I tell people now, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, Stanton. I'm from Long Beach. Has been the one I've been normally, like, I'll be out somewhere, like, not like, oh, where do you live? I'm like, oh, I'm from Long Beach. Where was I? I was in the desert. And I threw that out to somebody. And then I felt bad because this lady's like, oh my God, I'm from Long Beach. And I'm like, okay, lady, I'm from Huntington. I don't want people to know. Actually, I just live here. I was born in Chicago.
See, I was right. I said that to Mike. We couldn't find the actual stat, though.
Couldn't find this stat because I don't have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But I was born there. My dad was a Navy guy. And then we got out of there when I was about 4. We went to Georgia. And the first winter we were there, it was an ice storm. My dad's like, nope, not doing this. So we went to California. Been here ever since. So it's fun growing up in California because for the longest time, we didn't have a football team. So everybody grows up and like, particularly where I grew up, everybody was an Angels fan. People loved the Lakers. Nobody liked the Clippers. And you were Kings fans, unless you were everybody's younger brother roots for the Ducks, but everybody my age roots for the Kings.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And then your football team was always like, who's your parents' team? Like, okay. Like the DePaulos, their family's from Chicago. My family's from Chicago. We're Bears fans. You know, that kind of thing. Somebody's from Pittsburgh. You know, you also get a lot of military kids who root for like the teams that are on national broadcasts. But, you know, it's all good. It was fun, you know, because we grew up, you know, within throwing distance of Angel Stadium. So we got to go to a lot of baseball games. So my daughter does the same thing too. So I always take her. It's great entertainment. It's cheap. It's a lot of fun. So it's cool, you know, not having to shovel snow during the winter.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing about Vancouver, though, we're in Vancouver where we only get like 1 day of snow.
Yeah, but you had the Sedin brothers, so it's kind of it's a terrible trade-off. I'll take the snow.
Oh, they're legends. They're legends. I got their shrine over here behind my screen here. We got a nice shrine dedicated to the Sedins.
I'm sorry that this took a bad turn. I knew Vancouver. I'm like, this is gonna end up bad. This is gonna end up with a rant about the Couve taking a 3-0 lead and then losing it, but we won't go there.
We're going back to the Blackhawks. Okay. When
is it? No, I don't mean it. No, I don't want this to be bad. I'm just teasing. I
know. We can.
No.
We can handle it. We can handle it.
You guys are all like, you got so quiet. Like, oh wait, I didn't mean to insult you. You're actually, I'm related to the Sedins or something like that. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Nope. We can take jokes on here. That's for sure. Because we'll end up giving them back to you. We'll give them back.
Honestly,
to you.
I thought that me coming in and dropping a little knowledge, like even throwing out the Sedin brothers. Like, do you think if Field Yates was on this show, do you think he would make a mention of the Sedin brothers?
Nope. Probably not.
I don't
probably
think he
not.
would.
No,
probably not. I'm just saying. That's just me. Just trying to bond with you, even though I'm being a jerk.
Hey, well, while we're bonding, then did you obviously saw CM Punk return to Chicago?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Hell of a pop.
It is one of the most incredible things. I've watched all the behind the scenes stuff that they've put out. If you watch the first like 30 seconds of the Being the Elite, that was pretty cool. AEW even produced a video from the truck watching the director. That was amazing. As somebody who's in television, you know, a lot of times you don't understand what's going on in the back. Every once in a while you get, you know, you could hear it in your ear with somebody yelling like, what the hell is Rank doing? Or something like that. But it was amazing to see how the director was able to bring that all together and everything that happened. And it's fun. And it's fun enjoying wrestling again. And then last night he makes the remark about almost said it, Bryan Danielson. I got in trouble a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I didn't get in trouble. But I said, I never want to see Daniel Bryan wrestle again. I want to see Bryan Danielson. Because like people were upset, and it was so funny, the responses to the tweet of people like, you had me like this, and then I wanted to hug you. But yeah, that's exciting. And he's, you know, from the area.
Yep.
Vancouver adjacent, I think we could say. Yep. So that's exciting. It's a fun time. It's a fun time, and it feels like there's a legit, not a Monday Night War, but yeah, like something that's a legitimate alternative. And I always know that I come off like a hipster if I'm like, yeah, I only watch AEW and old NXT. You always feel terrible. And
I'm WCW, NWO days. I grew up on those. We had Eric Bischoff on the show too.
Yeah, that had to be amazing. Like I would love to talk to Eric Bischoff. And the cool thing about AEW is that a lot of what's going on doesn't seem haphazard, and it seems sort of well thought out to where we're not going to have some sort of incident like we had when Sting finally won the title. Like, I fantasy booked, and I know this is probably not what I'm here to talk about, but I was fantasy booking the, if you had Sting and you had Goldberg, and I think at some point you wouldn't know what to do. And you're like, oh, like two of our top guys are faces. And I think what you would have had happen is Sting should have kept the title for a while, and he should have been the one who broke Goldberg's streak. Yeah. And that would have set off Goldberg turning heel and eventually joining the NWO. Yeah. And then you could have turned Hogan face again, because Goldberg means that, Hogan is now expendable. So then Hogan and Sting team up, and then it's Goldberg with the NWO, and you get rid of everybody who was in the NWO who wasn't Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and DiBiase.
Those are my two favorite, Kevin Nash and Scott
Hall. That's right. But no, I say you go back to it where it's just Goldberg, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. That's the NWO. Everybody else gets bounced. Like, they just realize they've got to go back and be like, nope, maybe Macho Man. But like getting rid of like Buff Bagwell and all of those guys, and just having like a cool NWO faction with Goldberg against Sting and Hogan. And then eventually you have, you have those, that eventually Hogan has to turn on Sting like Ric Flair always did, because Sting's a dope and never sees it coming. And I don't, Steve Borden is a smart man, but Sting, the character, is a dope. Yeah. And so, but that's the sense that I get from AEW, is that they have something thought out, that it's not going to be like, hey, we're making it up week to week.
There hadn't been an entrance like that since Jericho's Y2J. That was, I think, when Jericho showed up on Raw that day, back in 2000 or 99, whatever it was. But what we were going to say, Mike, you knew as soon as he dropped Buff Bagwell's name, you knew where I was going, right? So
I had been messaging Buff Bagwell's manager, and then gave me a number. So I gave Ryan's number to him. Well, he called Ryan like all fucked up and like really bad, and like left him voicemails, and like, he's messed up these days. Messed up.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw Buff Bagwell was on a show called Gigolos on Showtime.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, Buff Bagwell. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Like, that just seems like the natural progression.
His answering machine message to me, it was just him breathing in the phone for a minute and a half.
No way.
Yeah. It was like, I saved it and everything. He called me like 3 times, and he asked me to like send him money, like fucking lend him $50 or something.
Like, it was a cameo request.
No,
like, hey,
like that's what he get. Maybe he thought that. I don't know. But okay, when did you get into broadcasting?
I went to school, and I was a journalism major, and I did take TV classes. Cal State Fullerton didn't have like a full-on television studio like a lot of these schools. Like, if my kids ever wanted to go, I didn't know what I was doing when I first went into college. I just wanted to go because my parents were upset with my sisters for not going to college. And they're like, you're going, asshole. Like, you're going to go to school. I don't care what you studied. Well, they did kind of care, but they were like, go study something. I'm like, I just want to do stand-up. And they're like, nope, go. So I went to Cal State Fullerton because it was close. It was cheap. They had a good baseball team. I played high school baseball. I'm like, oh, I'll go see what's going on here. Walked out on that field, and I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Like, I was a decent enough high school baseball player to where you're like, if we played a little pickup or something, you'd be like, that guy played. Like, okay, I get it. No. These guys who played at Cal State Fullerton were unbelievable. And a lot of these guys, like, they don't, and every guy that you see is like, this guy's going to the major leagues. It's amazing. And not all of them do. And it's just crazy. Oh, it's so humbling. But so I went out and, started studying journalism, did a little broadcasting. And then honestly, the only thing that I really wanted to do was just to be on the radio. Like, I thought that would have been cool. I grew up with Jim Rome, his San Diego station, XTRA, the Mighty 690. Loved that, wanted to be a part of just being in radio whatever. So if that would have been cool, that would have been great, but it was easier to get into print at the time, go out there and do like cover high school football games for the LA Times or the Orange County Register. And honestly, when I went to the NFL, when I started interning for them, I was a publishing major, or I was working for their publishing company. So it was really just a lot of written stuff, editing, and I was cool with it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm working in magazines. Like, it's awesome. And then, eventually, years down the road, I'm working the news desk for NFL.com, and I'm editing copy for the fantasy page and everything like that. And eventually they were doing these a la carte on-demand videos. And this is like 2009, 2008, really just starting these on-demand videos. And they were like, hey, you've got like kind of a stand-up stage presence. Do you mind joining us here for these? Like, just see what you got. And I'm like, yeah, like who wouldn't want to do that? And then that begat doing, NFL Fantasy Live. We launched that show in, I think, 2009. I should know this better. It was a Sunday morning show for an hour and a half. Then the following year, it was 5 days a week, but it wasn't on the network every day. And then the following year, it was every day. It was on the network, and it's been a staple ever since. Yeah, and always been a part of it. And it's funny too, because some of the guys who joined in the second year always talked about being OG originals. And I'm like, you're not an OG original. Like, we had a show that started that was it's like if Barry Windham claimed to be one of the original members of the Four Horsemen. You're like, what about Ole Anderson? Like, stop it. So yeah, it's been cool to be a part of for all these years. And obviously the fantasy industry, which was growing at the time, has become even bigger now. And so, just enjoying it and having a good time. And
who are some of the people that joined late that thought they were the OGs, the Steve Mongo McMichaels of the Four Horsemen?
I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to say that
Grant, we just had him on.
I don't want to say that his name rhymes with Akbar Bajabiamila, but that's what I say. Yeah. Akbar, I'm like, Akbar, the show existed before you appeared.
Yeah, like, what? He's not even, is he still doing the show? Because I know he's got Ninja Warrior.
Bro, that guy's gone on to be a Hollywood superstar. Yeah. Like, there's people, like, it's been such a launching career for a lot of people, who've gone on to do, like, really cool stuff. Like Colleen Wolfe, probably one of the most prominent people at our network. She hosts a lot of our major shows like Good Morning Football Weekend. She does the Thursday night she does the Thursday night pre and post. And, people forget, she was part of the fantasy show. Like Cynthia Freeland, who's everywhere on our network, started on the fantasy show. Currently, Kimmy Checks doing stuff. 3 years from now, you'll be like, yeah, she used to be on our fantasy show. And then they'll be like, oh, and Rank's still there. Going nowhere. Which is fun. I'm like the guy who never leaves Saturday Night Live. They're like, that guy's still on Saturday Night Live? Yeah. Like everybody else has gone on to do like great things. He's gone on to movies and all sorts of stuff. Matt Money Smith is the voice of the Chargers now.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone on to greater things except for me. But that's okay. It's not a terrible life, so I'll live with it.
I got a question that this one just came as we were thinking about it right before you came on. How is this extra week in the football season going to impact our fantasy?
Bro, I got to work an extra week. That's how it's going to impact it.
Our playoffs will still be 14, you think, week 14?
No. It's going to be 15, 16, 17. Like, it gets bumped back a week. I was actually, and it's cool too, because at least they have 7 teams in each conference make the playoffs for now. And only one team gets a bye. So there's not going to be a lot of teams that have stuff wrapped up. Now, that actually can go one of two ways, because it's like, oh, there's a number of teams that could be playing for that first seed. But there could also be some teams where you're like, well, we've locked up the East. We're not the number 1 seed. Let's rest our guys. So I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to take the happier approach for it.
Yeah, the high road.
Yeah, the high road, I guess, is the way to put that. But I don't
know. Do you think Odell has a bounce back year after being injured?
I honestly, as like a player, yes. As a fantasy relevant superstar, that part. Well, the part of it is the offense. Yeah. I mean, they run the ball so well. Kevin Stefanski wants to run the football, which means Nick Chubb. It means Kareem Hunt are going to be really good. Jarvis Landry is probably the better PPR wide receiver. And their defense is really good to where there'll be in some games where they're going to be salting away leads to where they're just going to run. They don't need to throw the ball. So it's unfortunate. Like, I love Baker. Like, I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, but it's like, I can't touch him in fantasy. I don't know what the closest comp is. I guess, you know what? The Seahawks did a lot of this for a long time too, where it's like Russell Wilson is great. Russell Wilson, maybe the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yes, he is.
But he doesn't always has the best fantasy stats because his team was always good. They were running the ball a lot. Pete Carroll just loves to put the ball into the hands of the running back, lets them do their thing, control the clock, play good defense. That does not win you a fantasy championship, which is unfortunate. And it sucks because, you know, if they were
except he didn't do it with Lynch though.
Yeah, he didn't run the ball on the two.
No, that's one play. By the way, that was a tremendous, like, I was there live, not to humble brag. Like, it was so stunning. Like, I don't know how Malcolm Butler caught that football. That's the kind of play that when you watch on replay and you go back and look at it, like, if that play would have happened on Madden, I would have thrown the controller and been like, there's no way that happens in real life. Like, still to this day, and I know a lot of Seahawks fans, like yourself, probably don't want to watch it. It's an unbelievable, it just makes no sense. Like, I just need a physics lesson on how that even happened because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, people don't forget. Super bad line.
Did you get a new gaming chair yet, by the way?
No, dude. I have not. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go with Secret Labs. That's the one that everybody told me. Unless I went with, like, I don't know. Everybody was showing me the bougie office chair, which I probably should go with. But I think gaming chairs are comfortable. I like to lay back, do my thing. I don't know. So I think Secret Labs, unless somebody else has a better suggestion. So I've got to reach out to their people, see what they recommend, and then go out and buy one.
Does Sean Watson land anywhere anytime soon?
That's a situation where we'll see how that plays out. Yeah. You know, you don't want to rush to judgment.
Yeah.
And you know what? It sucks because it is our job and it is, you know, people want to know. And it's kind of weird though, you know, because people want to know for fantasy purposes, like, okay, like that, I understand it's not the most important thing to me, but yeah. And it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those situations that you have to wait till it all plays out. And that whole Texans franchise, like, what is, like, oh my God, like what you have to be going through right now, trying to figure out.
Do they go winless this year?
I have them for one win. My predictions drop on Monday, the 30th. Yeah, Monday.
Dude, well, who's that against? Who's that one win against? Because I'm planning on taking them in whoever plays them in my survivor pool.
Yeah, every week. Their one win will come against the Seahawks in week 14.
I love it.
By the way, you know why? Listen, you think think about that. You're a Seahawks fan. You know this as well as anybody. Seattle every year has a stupid late season loss. What was it? 2 years ago, it was to the Cardinals.
Yes.
Last year, it was to the Giants. I am telling you, and you know, like, you can get mad at me, get mad at the messenger. They will be in content. Like, it'll be the thing that costs them the playoffs because the division's so good. It sucks. It's unfortunate because the division's so competitive. Like, if they were in the East, they would win it by 3 games. They're going to be like they're going to have 9 or 10 wins and then not make the playoffs because every team in the West is good. The thing is, like, that's the kind, like last year, they were on the cusp of being the number 1 seed. Yeah. And then that dumb Giants game happened. You're like, and I know this because of, like, this is the kind of stuff where, you know, I remember somebody even asked me, like, who is, like, I don't bet, we don't, but we're doing game predictions. And last year, that week, I remember my producer, I was like, I have the Seahawks beating the Giants because I'm not a crazy person. But I honestly, like, I just think the Giants are going to win. But I can't pick it because it just doesn't make sense. But for some reason, the Seahawks are going to have their dumb loss here. And because they have the Bears late in the season too.
This year they do. I'll be at that game. Yeah.
So I think they beat even with Justin Fields, they'll probably end up beating the Bears. They'll lose to the Texans and it'll just ruin their whole season. Like, it just, I don't know. They really like they're almost they could use a good house cleaning, but they can't because they got Russell, so they're always going to be competitive and they're always going to be super good. It's like, hey Russell, do you just want to go like make videos with Sierra for a year? Well, tank. Take a year off, get your body right, come back, and then we'll have the first overall. Look what the 49ers did.
Yeah.
They tanked. The Jimmy Garoppolo year, they get
Injuries.
Bosa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it's unfortunate because sometimes having that good quarterback, it hurts you at some point. Like it doesn't hurt you. That's dumb to say, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And it's so frustrating too because that window is so short. And it comes down, and again, I don't want to belabor this point about it coming down to one play. But if the Seahawks win, let's say the Seahawks beat the Patriots and they've beaten Tom Brady, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're back-to-back champions. Oh, geez. Okay. They're back-to-back champions. They beat Tom Brady. You start looking at Pete Carroll, and you start saying to yourself, is this the greatest coach in his, like, honestly, like what he did at USC? And I know a lot of people will be like, well, there were like, shut up. Every college coach cheats. Everyone does. And Reggie Bush, the only thing Reggie Bush did is went outside. Like he freelanced his thing. Instead of taking his money from whoever USC is set up to funnel their money through.
Yeah.
He went off the books. That got him in trouble. USC was too arrogant about it. But it's like they still smacked around Oklahoma and all these teams. I physically saw that. I physically saw Reggie Bush be one of the greatest players in college football history. Okay. That stuff does not go away. What Pete Carroll did with that with that organization, with whatever, that school, that program, everybody in Southern California hated that hire. Thought it was stupid. Like, what are they doing? Like, why are they taking, like, they're getting their fifth choice. This is USC. We should have our pick. Pete Carroll was amazing.
Yep.
And what he did in Seattle when he first started, again, everybody's like, oh, this guy was a failure in New York. He had, 1 year? He was a failure in New England. I don't think that he had a losing season. He comes to Seattle. They make like 600 moves in the first 2 seasons, but build an incredible roster that's unsustainable because of the way the NFL salary cap works.
Of course.
And then there it is. I really wish the NFL salary cap was designed to where like you can exceed the salary cap if you were paying players that you drafted. Like that would make the most sense and keep these teams together. Like we really missed out on how good the Cowboys of the 90s could have been, how good Seattle could have been, all that stuff. Like you shouldn't be hampered because your quarterback needs to get paid. Like they should be able to get paid. And if your owner is willing to spend extra money above the salary cap because your homegrown players are so good, then so be it. You should be able to go out and do that.
That's how it should be in hockey too, actually.
Oh my God, yes.
We have the exact same situation going on in Vancouver. We've got too much money tied up in bums, and this summer they finally dumped them all.
Yeah.
Because on their final years of their contracts, they bought everybody out after having them for 5 years, being a bunch of bums making $10 million a year.
Well, the Kings did that after they won their 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah. Mike Richards and Jeff Carter.
And Dustin Brown.
Yep.
Dustin Brown, yeah.
Brown was better this year, but yeah, it was still kind of like, oh, they should have just kept Kopitar and Doughty, paid those 2. I guess Jamie Quick you had to keep, or Jonathan Quick, excuse
Jonathan
me.
Quick, yeah.
And kept those 3 guys and got rid of everybody else. Just been like, okay, we'll figure it out. I think the Blackhawks kind of did that too.
True, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the Kings, they would have won like 4 Stanley Cups, maybe 5. Not 5. That's impossible. But
and of course the Canucks when we knocked them out in that playoff run of ours in 2011.
All right. Again, I'm a Southern California kid though. The Bears are my only Chicago team. This is a point of contention with my family. Like it was bad for a couple of years because some of my family who still lives in Illinois, ardent Blackhawk fans, like ardent, like it was like not talking to me kind of stuff, super mad. And like, we're both mad at each other. Like, why did the Blackhawks have to be so good during this kick? Because the Kings could have won 3 in a row. And the Blackhawks are like, well, we could have won 5 in a row. And again, like nobody's winning 5 in a row. 4 out of 5, I might sign off on. But 3 in a row, possibly. Like it, yeah, okay. But it is, but we still, both of us hate Vancouver, so that worked out. That's cool.
So out of the 2 rookie running backs, I'd say that are like kind of the top tier, Javonta and
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris. Do you have Najee Harris way above him?
I mean, I have him above just because of the opportunity that he's going to get.
Yeah.
There's nobody there in Pittsburgh who's going to compete with him for touches. During Mike Tomlin's career as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 4 times they've drafted a running back in the first 3 rounds. 3 of those 4 guys have gone on to have great success during their rookie season. I expect Najee Harris to have no limitations or anything like that. So obviously he's somebody who's a borderline first round pick. Javonte Williams is going a little bit later because Melvin Gordon's there. But I think at the end of the season, we're going to see a very similar situation to what we saw last year in Indianapolis with Jonathan Taylor, where Williams is now going to be winning people some weeks, possibly a championship. It's just going to take a little while for him to get going.
Which QB outside the top 15 you think has the highest ceiling?
Outside of the top 15.
Yeah, give or take a number. I'm just saying.
No, I'm trying to think of somebody deep. You know who I really like, though, is I know it's preseason and you can't buy into too much of the hype, but Zach Wilson is a player that I keep drafting over and over again. I just did a draft for our NFL Fantasy Live League. I'm about to do a draft in a couple of minutes with AJ Dillon and the Sleeper League. And Zach Wilson is always the guy that I just kind of add at the end of the year because we talked about, the extra game this season. It feels like, and especially, COVID still has an impact this year.
Yeah.
It feels right to have 2 quarterbacks and probably taking 2 tight ends as well. Stuff you would not normally do. I think it's important to make sure you have the proper backups. Zach Wilson is always my second quarterback, unless I get Trey Lance because of the 49ers playoff schedule at the end of the season. They go like Cincinnati, Atlanta, Tennessee, and Houston.
Whoa. Ease up. I think Cincy can win that game.
Against the 49ers?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
I got high hopes for this year. Honestly, I think we have one of the top receiving 4 in the whole NFL.
How do we feel about Jamar Chase? I took Jamar Chase just a moment ago, thinking I was taking Chase Claypool. I'm like, how do I have Jamar Chase on my roster? I'm like, oh, I thought it was Chase Claypool.
Hey, do you have anybody I should be reaching for? Like totally going. If I got to skip from last year, it was Jefferson. I got told to go reach for Jefferson around early. Is there somebody I should be reaching for this year?
Well, one of the guys, I think my team, I should just bring up my team because I was a pick a player a little bit too early guy.
I'm that guy too. Yeah.
I would rather, yeah. Why do that to yourself?
I like to fill my roster with the best of each player and then go to my bench while everyone else is filling their defense spots or their IDP spots or.
Yeah. Well, everybody's doing like crazy things and
then I can take the best of what's left.
I'm a reacher. I don't mind it either. Like nobody cares what you're doing. And here's my team. So yeah, I started doing I got a lot of Javonte Williams. I got Trey Sermon. I got Zach Wilson. So I took Darnell Mooney, which I think a lot of people are very excited about. If you talk to anybody involved with the Bears organization, they talk about Darnell Mooney being one of the next big stars in the NFL. It's going to probably count. We're probably going to need Justin Fields out there to reach.
Not Dandy Andy.
No, probably not Dandy Andy. I did take Jacoby Myers, who I think is a better route runner than a lot of people give him credit for. I'm sure that you know who Matt Harmon is.
Yeah.
His reception perception is something that I really love. And Jacoby Myers just rates off the chart. So I've been screwed. It costs you nothing. It's a free pick. I also love Nahim Heinz. He had the third highest receptions for running backs last year. I would contend he's the Colts' best receiver. And if you're playing in a full PPR league, Nahim Heinz is somebody who's going to give you 4-5 receptions per game. He's probably going to run the ball a little bit. He has the opportunity to get a touchdown. I think he's a double-digit point scorer every week, and especially with Carson Wentz there, maybe there's more checkdowns. I really like this opportunity for him. So that's been a guy that I've really tried to focus on. My team looks like I've missed, like I skipped around. Because not only that, because I took George Kittle in the third. So it's really pushing me back. Like the way that I draft, it usually doesn't behoove me to do one of the early tight ends. Like I should have waited for Mike Gesicki or somebody like that. Because otherwise my roster does give out a thing like, did you miss a round and just have to forfeit a pick? Because it does seem a little weird. But I think that by the end of the season, looking at guys like Trey Sermon is going to pay off. Jamar Chase, I'm with you. Like I was just teasing you about the Bengals. Like I honestly believe the Bengals are going to be one of the more exciting teams. And one of the things I really like about them is their offense. I think
that's all we have.
I think it's too overblown. I think people are too caught up in their feelings. Like they act like Cincinnati did nothing to improve their offensive line. And you're like, okay, well in 2020, they used a first round pick on a lineman. They signed Riley Reif. They used a second round pick on a lineman this year.
Yeah.
Like that's three new players in the last 2 years. So don't sit here, and they saw Billy Price, who's been recovering from an injury for quite some time. Don't tell me that they did not address, like, what else do you want them to do? And by the way, I'm not convinced that Perry Sewell is going to be all that good. Like Pac-12 lineman, and I hate to be the Pac-12 lineman, am I right, guy? But like the dude didn't play last year. I don't know. Like I've seen him get beat. I think Jamar Chase, and I think it's overblown with Jamar Chase. People stop it. Like he was too good. He's too good.
Yeah. I still think T. Higgins is the guy, though.
Oh my God, yes, T. Higgins. Yeah. That's another thing too. Like they also have Tyler Boyd. Like this is an incredibly deep receiving core. Like I think they're exciting. I don't know. Their running back always seems to get hurt.
Who's on your do not draft list?
Well, the Bengals running back is always on my do not draft list for reasons that might not be field related, but. In any event, there's nobody that I'm like, I'll never draft. You never say never. You know what I'm saying? It's like professional wrestling. Like, hey, I'll never say never. Here comes Hollywood Hogan in the WWE again. So you never know how it's going to be. You never know, like if somebody's going to fall. There are certain players that I don't like their ADP. Like I don't like Kyler Murray's ADP because I think he goes way too early. And I'm like, I might as well wait. But if people in my league are like-minded, and they're not drafting Kyler Murray, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a shot on him. So there's just basically players like, I think Dak Prescott also he's having trouble throwing the football, which I don't know. Like I'm not an expert. I think that's a big part of being a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like why? Like everybody is upset. Like anytime there's a note on Twitter about like, hey, this guy left the practice field today. He's a little gingered, nothing, doesn't seem serious, but still, and everybody's like, I'm dropping him 2 rounds. Like Dak Prescott doesn't have an arm. They're like, yeah, but this is a minor setback. Like it's whatever. Like, I don't know. Congrats. I mean, I love Dak Prescott as much as anybody else, but it's like, if he's not throwing and not throwing with velocity, I'm going to take a different quarterback, especially given the price.
So Mike, I don't know how much time we have with you. I'm assuming you got a draft coming up here real quick. Can we just quickly run through who do you think's going to win your divisions?
Yeah, let's do it.
AFC.
I gotta give away the store here. Like I can't make you go to the NFL page. All right, I'll do it. Do it for free. I'll give you the freebies. Hold on. Listen, this is what I do. I'm a giver. I'm gonna pull up. Dude, I wonder. Oh gosh, I can't even find my list. Okay, I know who I picked though. Real quick. No, let's go through this. Like I think
AFC
that's gonna be the Bills. They're gonna repeat. I still think the Patriots are gonna be good. I know a lot of people discounted them, but they had so many opt-outs last year. They weren't terrible last season. They were still in the mix. And Cam's looked pretty good. Mac Jones has looked good. So
AFC South.
I'm gonna go Titans. That's an easy one. That's probably the easy one. That's the easiest one to call.
AFC North.
I will go with the Ravens. I like Cleveland. I don't think that Cleveland regresses or anything, or is in any danger of not making the playoffs, but I think that they're good. I think the team that to watch out for is Pittsburgh. Like, are we just ignoring what happened in the second half of last year? What happened in the playoffs? Like, it would have been one thing if Cleveland would have just, gone to the playoffs, been happy to get there, and then they disappeared. But they won a game and won it convincingly. And it reminds me of the trajectory that Tennessee has taken over the last couple of seasons, where you look at them and you're like, yeah, like Cleveland's kind of building it smartly. Strong defense, good running game, their quarterback solid. Like that team, unless something catastrophic happens injury-wise, everybody being healthy, injuries turned off on Madden, the Browns should make the playoffs.
Okay, AFC West.
I'm still going to say the Chiefs, although there is something to be said that anytime a team is going to repeat and they lose to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, they struggle. Something happens. You start to decline, but I think that the Chiefs are a little too loaded. Even though I like the AFC West a lot, there's a lot of good teams there. I still think the Chiefs are probably a cut above.
Matt Money Smith took the Chargers, but Marcus took KC as well. NFC East.
I'm going to go back to the Washington FT. Again, a team that's built through defense that I feel is the most sustainable. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's good enough. Their running game, they've got a lot of sneakily good weapons led by Antonio Gibson. So I kind of like them.
Yeah,
that was one of my questions is what's your thoughts on Antonio Gibson?
I love him. Like he's one of the guys that I'm trying to. I really like. I keep getting in the Fantasy Live League. I picked 4th. In my league of record, I'm 5th, but it's a 10-team league. I really want to take Antonio Gibson in the second round. Like I hope that I'm in a position to take him. I would really love to be at the end of the first round and have Austin Eckler fall to me, and then pair him with Antonio Gibson and just be like, we're just going to go YOLO with hopefully the next Kamara and the next CMC, and hope for the best. Because I'm always trying to project forward. I'm not trying to look too far in the past. Let's try to project forward.
NFC North.
That's Packers. Still.
Yeah. NFC South.
Buccaneers.
Yeah.
22 starters returning. And Tom Brady, and it's not like, and you've seen throughout the entirety of Tom Brady's career, he does not rest just because he's won a Super Bowl. Like if there's one guy you're like, yeah, they're not going to fade just because they won a Super Bowl, it's going to be a Tom Brady-led team.
NFC West, the hard one.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, my connection dropped. Are you guys still there? Hello? 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 I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think their schedule works out a little bit better. I thought initially going into it before I started making game picks per week, I thought it was going to be the Rams, but I have the 49ers edging them out. I mean, the last time we saw the 49ers, when they were fully operational, healthy, and rolling, they smoked the Packers. They smoked them. I don't think a lot of people pay enough attention to that. Like, they were embarrassed by the 49ers. And I think these teams with good defense can get to the Packers. The Packers also have a lot of issues on their offensive line still. Like, not everybody is back. Their big guy, Budakari or
Budakari, yeah.
That guy. He's not like, listen, there's some issues there. So I think they'll still be good enough to win the NFC North because for whatever reason, Matt Nagy's like the kid who got a bike for Christmas and is like, yeah, you can't ride it yet. Like, yeah, Dad, you got me a bike for Christmas. Like, yeah, you can't ride it till July 4th. You're like, well, this sucks. Like, what's the point of having this thing if I can't use it?
Would you suggest I take a late round flyer? I mean, it's not going to be too late round on Elijah Moore.
I'm a big Corey Davis guy, and I think that Zach Wilson has really been relying on him. And I know there's always some apprehension anytime that you have a player who breaks out at the end of a contract, like, oh, contract year, he's breaking out. But Corey Davis still has a pedigree. He was very good last season. He's been pretty good in training camp. Zach Wilson seems to have a nice rapport with him. So I do think that it's okay. We can trust Corey Davis enough, but this is one of those instances where I would really like to take Elijah Moore. I'm not saying that he'd have a Justin Jefferson type breakout,
that's who I'm looking for.
But yeah, like that makes a lot of sense because you have the veteran guy who's steady, who's going to get a lot of attention from opposing defensive coordinators, and it allows Elijah Moore to go out there and kind of do his thing. And also, if you're looking for a second-year guy to bounce back, I mean, why not? Why not talk about Jerry Jeudy, who last year Pro Football Focus said that nearly 60% of his passes were uncatchable. Like, that's insane. Teddy Bridgewater, not the greatest quarterback in the world, but last year he supported Robbie Anderson. He supported DJ Moore. Curtis Samuel was doing well. If he can just get the ball into Jerry Jeudy's hand, and of course, it's not going to be the air yards that it was last season. Just get him a catchable football, and I think Jerry Jeudy's going to break out.
What do you think of Sony's trade? Is that going to make any difference in LA?
It's going to make difference for J.J. Taylor. What up, dogs? Oh, everybody telling me that Patriots running back room was too packed. No room for J.J. Taylor. And I'm like, somebody's getting traded. Somebody's getting cut. And I even told somebody that Sony Michel is probably not going to end up being on the Patriots. Like, you're a clown. All right. He's with the Rams now. So I think that I swear to you, I was in a slow draft and I took Xavier Jones, and then they make the trade for Sony Michel. I'm like, of course they did. Of course they did. I think that Daryl Henderson is still going to be he was always going to be in the mix. Yeah. As much as people wanted Cam Akers to be the next Todd Gurley, like a lot of people were saved from themselves because he was not going to be the next Todd Gurley. But, the one thing about Daryl Henderson, who I like a lot, who runs pretty well, the next-gen stats with him are off the charts. They look really good. He's just been banged up too much, and he's already banged up in training camp as well, heading into the season. So Sony Michel, to me, is a player that you should be drafting and stashing, because if something happens, he has that ability, and the Rams know full well. They saw it in the Super Bowl. Sony Michel can turn a game around. I just have to say, and you know what? Again, I know I made fun of the Sedines. I picked the 49ers to win the NFC West. I'm just going to keep going. Perhaps if you had drafted Nick Chubb instead of Rashad Penny, but I mean, listen, if you can take a San Diego State running back instead of taking a guy who excelled in the SEC, you have to do it. It worked out well for Indianapolis when they took Marshall Faulk, but
of course,
no disrespect to the Aztecs. I'm a big Aztec guy.
Hey, we want to thank you for coming on and giving us your time and all your insight. It was a good chat. We even talked about some wrestling and
hockey. I flexed. I got a hockey flex in. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. This has been
hopefully
great.
Hopefully next year we can do this again. That's okay. Yeah, I hope so.
I would love that, because you're also a big DK Metcalf fan. And Can I tell you a story about DK Metcalf?
Sure. I had his dad on the podcast.
He is like one of the nicest guys. Like he did a fan event over Zoom, and it's difficult over Zoom, but like he was amazing. Like him and Chris Godwin were both like just so amazing and so engaged. And a lot of times you do stuff like that, and there's a real possibility that somebody's just like, whatever, like, yeah, I got roped into this thing. But those guys were engaged. They were answering questions. By the way, Chris Godwin was giving like legit fantasy advice, which is difficult because these guys, like, you can't focus on every game like we can. Like Chris Godwin's not sitting there on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. watching 12 games. He's out playing. But still was very nuanced in what he was talking about. So I always appreciated that. So I've always been a huge DK Metcalf fan ever since that moment. I'm like, that's my guy. Chris Godwin's my guy. So I love him. I think Godwin's going to end up being a Bear next season too.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't doubt that one.
Allen Robinson's going to go somewhere else. And then Chris Godwin's going to sign with us.
Looking for the most beers on tap, great steaks, great staff? Head over to the John B. Pub.
We got the best beers, steaks, chicken wings, nachos in town. Come see us at the John B. Pub.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Come sign up for our football pool. Say Hayes sent you.